Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. Text number 9. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naitimam eti sorjana. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naitimam eti sorjana. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naitimam eti sorjana. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naitimam eti sorjana. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naitimam eti sorjana. Tami. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naitimam eti sorjana. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naitimam eti sorjana. Janma, birth. Karma, work. Cha, also. Me, of me. Divyam, transcendental. Evam, like this. Ya, anyone who. Veti, knows. Tatvataha, in reality. Tyaktva, leaving aside. Deham, this body. Punaha, again. Janma, birth. Na, never. Eti, does obtain. Mam, unto me. Eti, does attain. Saha, he. Arjuna, O Arjuna. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Purport. The Lord's descent from his transcendental abode is already explained in the 6th verse. One can understand the truth of the appearance of the personality of Godhead is already liberated from material bondage, and therefore he returns to the kingdom of God immediately after quitting this present material body. Such liberation of the living entity from material bondage is not at all easy. The impersonalists and the yogis attain liberation only after much trouble and many, many births. Even then, the liberation they achieve, merging into the impersonal Brahmajyoti of the Lord, is only partial, and there is a risk of returning to this material world. But the devotee, simply by understanding the transcendental nature of the body and activities of the Lord, attains the abode of the Lord after ending this body and does not run the risk of returning to this material world. In the Brahma Samhita 5.33, it is stated that the Lord has many, many forms and incarnations. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantarupam. Although there are many transcendental forms of the Lord, they are still one and the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to understand this fact with conviction, although it is incomprehensible to mundane scholars and empiric philosophers. As stated in the Vedas, Eko Devo Nitya Lila Nurukto. Eko Devo Nitya Lila Nurakto Bhakta Vyapi Rid Yantar Atma. The one Supreme Personality of God has eternally engaged in many, many transcendental forms in relationship with his unalloyed devotees. This Vedic version is confirmed in this verse of the Gita personally by the Lord. He who accepts this truth on the strength of the authority of the Vedas and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who does not waste time in philosophical speculations, attains the highest perfectional state of liberation. Simply by accepting this truth on faith, one can without a doubt attain liberation. The Vedic version, Tat Vamasi, is actually applied in this case. Anyone who understands Lord Krishna to be the Supreme, or says unto the Lord, you are the same Supreme Brahman, Personality of Godhead, is certainly liberated instantly. And consequently, his entrance into the transcendental association of the Lord is guaranteed. In other words, such a faithful devotee of the Lord attains perfection. This is confirmed in the following Vedic assertion. Tam eva vidit vati mrityumeti nyanyan panta vidite yanaya. One can obtain the perfect stage of liberation from birth and death simply by knowing the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there is no other way to attain this perfection. Shveta Spatara Upanishad. That there is no alternative means that anyone who does not understand Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is surely in the mode of ignorance, and consequently he will not attain salvation simply, so to speak, by licking the outer surface of the bottle of honey, nor by interpreting the Bhagavad Gita according to mundane scholarship. Such empiric philosophers may assume very important roles in the material world, but they are not necessarily eligible for liberation. Such puffed up mundane scholars have to wait for the causeless mercy of the devotee of the Lord. One should therefore cultivate Krishna consciousness with faith and knowledge, and in this way attain perfection. Janma karma chame devyam evam yo veti tatvataha tyaktvadeham panar janma naitimam eti sarjana. One who understands the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, or Arjuna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Satarne. The aim of the Hare Krishna movement is to become, or the aim of the Krishna consciousness movement is to become conscious of Krishna. Right now, everyone, all of the entities, to one degree or another, we're all conscious of Krishna. Or we could say we're equally unconscious of Krishna. In order to become conscious of Krishna, Krishna has spoken Bhagavad Gita, or at least to help us become conscious of Krishna. Krishna has spoken the Bhagavad Gita and has explained the science of how we can become conscious of him. So here the word uses tatvataha. Tat means that. So if you're trying to learn Sanskrit and you know English, that word is very easy to learn because you just add an H and then you get that to the tat. So tat means something which is experienceable, that you can actually point out and show people. Tat, that. something which is perceivable. And tva means a category of things which are perceivable, that can actually be experienced. Krishna consciousness is a science by which we can learn how to perceive Krishna. But it's not a science, a mechanical science, such as chemistry or physics, whatever, that you add one drop to another drop and you get a third drop. It's a science of bhakti. As Krishna says, if you want to know me in truth, bhakti mam abhijananti yavanyas tatvataha tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tadanantaram. In other words, Krishna also uses the word tattva in that verse. If we want to know Krishna in truth, we want to experience Krishna, the only way is through bhakti. And bhakti begins with not simply by sentiment, feeling. Bhakti begins with knowledge and faith and detachment. In the 18th chapter, Krishna speaks 53 verses, most of the chapters summarizing Bhagavad Gita, to explain what knowledge and detachment is. And he goes that there's different ways of obtaining that knowledge and detachment. Buddhya vishuddhya yukto chitatmana niyamya cha shabda din vishayan tyaktva raga dvesha vidasya cha vivikta desha lagvasi yatavakaya manasa dhyana yoga paro nityam vairagya samupashitya ahankara balam darpam kamakroda parigraham vimucha niramo shanto brahma bhuyayo kalpate. So, buddhya, intelligence. We all have intelligence. Every living entity has intelligence. That intelligence allows us to perceive things in different ways. Intelligence means that when we hear things, according to our intelligence, that's how we hear things. When we see things, according to our intelligence, that's how we see things. When we taste things, according to our intelligence, that's how we taste them. When we think of something, we think of those things according to our intelligence. But buddhya vishuddhya yukto, the aim of self-realization, to become advanced in consciousness, we have to purify our intelligence. We have to see things in a different way than we're seeing things now. If we're honest, we'd probably say, yes, when I'm in the class, a Hare Krishna class, then I pick up my halo at the doorstep and I put it on and everyone can see my halo revolving around the top of my head. And yes, whatever they say in class, yes, I agree with. Yes, Krishna is God, I'm his servant, I shall always be serving him. I shall always remember him, I should never forget him. Everyone and everything has a relationship to Krishna, and I should see everyone and everything only in a relationship to Krishna, etc. Yes, I agree with everything. And then we leave the class and we go out, we leave our halo at the door, and we go into the real world again. No, buddhya vishuddhya yukto, by the practice of devotional service, gradually, without effort, we'll be able to see things properly. But, as Prabhupada writes in this verse, it's not an easy process, Krishna consciousness. First of all, for the most part, we don't even know where we are in the process. So if we don't know where we're at the process, we don't know the next step. We don't know if we're going forward or we're going backwards because we don't know what the different steps are. And sometimes we don't really care because we're just accustomed to being in the illusion. And therefore illusion feels quite comfortable to us. And so going out of illusion seems very uncomfortable. It's like the bird in the cage. The bird gets used to being in the cage. And the master opens the cage and allows the bird to go out and walk around. But then the bird gets very nervous and immediately runs back into the cage so the master can shut it and he can feel safe in the cage. So in the Bali concept of life, with all our paraphernalia to protect us, ultimately our pillow, which we can grab, oh, I love you. Yeah, something, our room, our bed, our clothes, our insurance, our money in the bank, our family, something to protect us, to make us feel secure, loved, comfortable, etc., that life is worth existing in. Therefore, we're reluctant to leave that material existence, and so Krishna has to very patiently speak to Arjuna a gradual process of purifying one's intelligence. And of course, at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna asks Arjuna, have you actually been listening? As he says, Nashna moha smritira ladva tat prasadamaya chuta. Oh, actually, kachit etat chutam partha tvaya kagrena chetasa kachit agana samoha pranataste dhananja. Have you actually been listening to what I've been telling you? Or you've been asleep the whole time? But he says, ekagrena, have you actually been paying real attention to my discussion with you? And I'm going to test you because they'll be judged by kachit etat chutam partha tvaya kagrena chetasa kachit agana. Has your ignorance been dispelled? Are you still thinking these are family members and that you're part of this Yadu dynasty and that you shouldn't kill them because it would be very bad for their family members? Ladies will become corrupt. Society will be destroyed. And no matter what I tell you, you say, yes, Krishna, but you have your opinion and I have my opinion. And ultimately, as everyone knows, I'm supposed to follow my opinion. You can't convince me. Even if you stand on your head, I'm still not going to be convinced. Only if you stand on one finger and clap your hands at the same time, then I might be a little impressed. Has your ignorance been destroyed? And what about your illusion? So now you know you're not in your body, but still you think you're God. You can do whatever you want. Has that illusion been dispelled? So that's why Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita, to tell us what is the mechanism by which we fall into illusion. Material nature is very subtle. It is offering us so many different things. If we read Brihad Bhagavatamrita, we'll find out that even Gopkumara, he was able to meditate upon Krishna when he chanted the holy names, his Gopal mantra. Especially he chanted it when he wanted something. He found out something was superior to where he was at that present moment. And so he chanted Hare Krishna. He chanted the Gopal mantra. And then he wound up someplace else in a higher planet with greater opportunities, not only for sense gratification, but also for association with Krishna. He liked associating with Krishna, but apparently he also was attracted to better material existence. So it is not that anyone who's attracted to better material existence necessarily doesn't like Krishna. You may like Krishna. You may be attracted to better and better existences, the material energy, in a conception where Krishna isn't completely the focus of one's attention. But he chanted, and gradually he experienced higher and higher states of consciousness, higher and higher places, higher and higher experiences, and his attraction for Krishna also increased. The more he became purified, the better his existence was, but also the more he became attracted to Krishna, all the way up to when he finally met Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. So it is not that the material energy is only trying to cover us, but is also trying to, at the same time, give us an opportunity to satisfy our desires and make progress in Krishna consciousness. The worst thing is when we stop thinking that we can get something in the material world without Krishna. In other words, if we think the material world is something separate from Krishna and that we don't really know how Krishna, if he's really controlling here And he may be, he may not. So I'll pray to him. And if he doesn't give me what I want, then I'll go out and get it myself. So we may think like that. And as a matter of fact, that's what the illusory energy is inviting us. Yes, Krishna may be there. Seems perfectly logical. The philosophy is so good. Or as one Christian priest mentioned, as I pointed out, one Christian priest said that the philosophy of the Hare Krishnas is so good, so perfect, that only the devil could have made it. So we may say, yes, it's a perfect philosophy, but it's very inconvenient. It's an inconvenient truth. It doesn't quite match up with my desires, with my expectations, with my future, the way I vision my future. Krishna is there, but he's there as a little deity in my house. He has his little place, and let him keep it. We give him water every day. Don't complain. Therefore, we have to read Bhagavad Gita and understand things perfectly or thoroughly to the best we can. Because, as Krishna says, that Nainam gunevyas kartaram drashteva nupashiti gunevyas chaparam veti madhvavam sodigashiti. When you can see that there's nothing beyond the three modes, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all of them, then you can know my spiritual nature. Or as Prabhupada said, activities performed in knowledge strengthen one's advancement in real knowledge. When we can see things as they are, then the influence of the material nature gradually ceases. In other words, we're trying to develop some vision. And how to develop that vision? Well, we have to become convinced that it's through devotional service that we can actually see things better. We can't see things perfectly now. We should understand that. That's part of our philosophy. But it's not given to us so we can be chastised. You're a rascal. You're in ignorance. Oh no, don't. I'm already have enough depression, and my self-esteem is very low enough, and now you're criticizing me. Next, you're going to tell me I'm like a hog or a dog or a camel or an ass. Oh, I can't take this. I'm already depressed, but now I'm rotten and fallen. I'm so rotten that I can't even fall. No, the idea is that we can understand what our actual position is so that we can understand how that we can get some desire to get out of that position and come to a higher state of consciousness. The way is up. That life will become more secure, will become more aware of our eternal nature, the eternal existence of Krishna, will become more satisfied, more happy, more blissful, more aware of how to have loving exchanges with Krishna and with the devotees and with innocent people, and will know how to properly deal even with those who are against Krishna, with all living entities. That everything will become clear so that we have no more doubts and we become expert in everything we're doing. And that expertise produces more transcendental happiness and awareness. That gradually we realize that although I'm in ignorance, but now I'm at least coming to the platform of passion. At least now I'm becoming enthusiastic about what I'm doing. And now I'm also getting some awareness, some consciousness of things as they actually are. And how I could actually be if I want to be. So Krishna explains the Bhagavad Gita to help us in that way so that we can perform activities in knowledge. And what is that knowledge? Bhoktaram gyagatapisam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatmamam shantimrichate. We don't have to learn millions of slokas. We don't have to become great philosophers. We just have to accept that this world belongs to Krishna and that he's the controller behind it. That Maya, the material energy, they're Krishna's servants. And if I accept everything belongs to Krishna, that will be shown by my willingness to engage in Krishna's service. Now, Krishna's service means there may be many opportunities to engage in Krishna's service, but ultimately Krishna wants us to serve his devotees. He wants us to find out from his devotees what that service should be, but devotees who know what that service should be. In other words, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes here and he displays his pastimes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and shows us what the Sankirtan movement is and what the reasons for the Sankirtan movement and how effectively it can engage all living entities in Krishna's devotional service just by chanting Hare Krishna in love and awareness. So this is the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He knows there's only around 10,000 years left. The opportunity to chant Hare Krishna and get that result is there for approximately 10,000 years more. And therefore, he's impatient that the Sankirtan movement spread. And how to spread the Sankirtan movement? Yari Deka Tari Kaha Krishna Upadesh Amara Agai Gurahana Tari Desh. We don't have to save the whole world. As a matter of fact, we're not going to save the whole world. But we do have one business. We have to save ourselves. That we have to take seriously. And taking that seriously means that we should understand that this body doesn't belong to me. My mind doesn't belong to me. My intelligence doesn't belong to me. Myself, I'm not independent. I actually belong to Krishna. And what does Krishna want me to do with his body? What does he want me to do with my mind? What does he want me to do with my intelligence? What does he want me to do with myself? So in one sense, the Nectar of Devotion explains to us, Krishna wants us to always think of him, either in the battlefield Kurukshetra, receiving instructions for Arjuna, giving instructions to Arjuna, or in his pastimes in the internal energy in Vrindavan. Or for ourselves, his pastimes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, distributing the Hare Krishna movement, the Sankirtan movement. And one should utilize the body in relationship to a movement which is spreading the Hare Krishna movement, the Sankirtan movement, under the direction of the leaders, the authorities of that movement, who are taking direction from the acharyas in disciple succession, who have received that knowledge from Krishna. In other words, focus in on Krishna's desires, focus in on Krishna's message to fulfill those desires. And Krishna's desire is to spread this Hare Krishna movement. And how to spread it? Well, whoever we meet, we meditate, we pray to Krishna for the intelligence that he's given us in Bhagavad Gita, that he's given us in Srimad Bhagavatam, that he's given us by the practical instructions and example of superior devotees. And his Paramatma within the heart, most importantly, he can remind us of the examples and the instructions he and his representatives have given us, and then we could try to assimilate them and come up with the best we can do. Now, if we think, whoever I meet someone and I'm going to save them immediately because I'm so sincere, I've meditated so deeply, and therefore whatever I say is going to have a miraculous effect, that as soon as I say it, I'll see 4 arms, and then the Vaikuntha airplane will come and take them away and offer me to come. And I say, no, I have a few more souls to save. Don't worry. Come back later. No, we do the best we can. But at least we should do something we can. Otherwise, we think we're so empowered, we're so great, we know so much, and that by my mercy, people are advancing Krishna consciousness, then we've lost the point. That all we can do is become an instrument for Krishna. That he's actually the deliverer. we ourselves should just gradually realize that we're 1/10,000th the size of tip hair in size, not extremely big. As a matter of fact, if there's a coronavirus, hopefully the soul won't be hit by it, because the coronavirus is like a mountain compared to our little tiny cells. Luckily, the coronavirus can't harm the soul. In any case, we're extremely tiny. All we can do is agree to become an instrument. And therefore, agreeing to become an instrument, that when we're sincerely trying to become Krishna's instrument by utilizing the resources that Krishna has given to us. In other words, Krishna has given us resources. He's given us this body. He's given us this mind. He's giving us intelligence. He's given us our material assets. He's given us the association of devotees. We can only desire to utilize these resources. And as much as we see, Krishna sees our sincerity in trying to serve him, then he gives us the intelligence how to serve him and reveals himself also. Because we may say the perfect thing, we may do the perfect thing, we may think the perfect thing, but it's only perfect if Krishna is actually there, revealing himself with his transcendental energy and placing us under the internal energy. Mahatmanas tumam partha, daivim prakritim ashitya, vajanyanya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyam. That the great souls, Mahatmas, they're always engaged in, they're always under the internal energy of Krishna. They're fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Lord above the material modes. 7th chapter. And inexhaustible, is that the one? Mahatmanas tumam partha, devim prakriti ashitya, pajanyanya manaso, gyatva bhutidem avyam. So the 9th chapter. Inexhaustible, right. Got to write that down. So we want to be under the internal energy of Krishna through the process of bhakti. Then what we're doing, will be effective. Otherwise, we may make a big show, we may sing nicely, we may chant so many verses, explain the philosophy. But if Krishna is not there, if he's not there revealing himself by his internal energy, then it's just an empty shell. It's a nice show, but there's nothing behind it. But if we're sincere and we're trying to utilize Krishna's resources that he's given us somehow or another, recognizing that this is meant for Krishna's service, whatever we can remember is meant for Krishna's service, and actually do it under the authorized representatives of Krishna, then we'll make some progress. At least the first part of progress. We'll become dutiful. The living entity has come to the material world simply to rebel, to prove that he can be independent of Krishna. We may not do it consciously, but everyone wants to be in the spotlight here. To show others. Even if we're not trying to show the world, someone should believe that I'm great. Even if I can't find a wife, or I can't find a husband, or my parents don't like me, and I don't like them. No one loves me. But when I come home at night, my dog comes and greets me. And at least for one soul in this universe, I'm the center of attention. And he loves me. Oh, I love you. Lick, lick, lick. Yes, life is worth it. At least one person realizes I'm the center. And therefore they take their dog as a person. The cow they want to kill. They think the cow is not a person, but their dog is a person because the dog puts them in the center. So everyone's trying to somehow or another being the center of attention, being the center of the universe, or as Hridayananda Maharaj once, when he was GBC for Brazil, some devotees came to him, some of the brahmacharis, and were asking that the ladies, they're trying to allure them. Prahladananda Maharaj would send the ladies out of the temple to protect the brahmacharis. So Prahladananda Maharaj said, well, I could do that, but then who will the brahmacharis dance for? So it's subtle. We have to understand, not that every brahmachari is necessarily in that mentality. That was being a little sarcastic. But if we're extreme also, that's sometimes a little extreme. That we have to be careful that we're consciously doing things to please Krishna. Otherwise, we'll be unconsciously doing things to please others, to put ourselves in the center. When we see ourselves as an instrument for Krishna, then that's good. But in order to become seeing ourselves as an instrument for Krishna, we have to accept that actually I am an instrument for Krishna, that these things do belong to Krishna, including my own intelligence that Krishna is supplying to me. He's giving it to me. It's not mine. It's a gift. Whatever, if I'm thinking about Krishna, Krishna is very mercifully, out of compassion, revealing himself to me within my mind. If I have the intelligence what to do to please him, it's by the mercy of Guru, Sadhana, Shastra. It's not by my prowess. Then we can actually advance towards the stage of bhakti, where we're doing it to please Krishna. We're actually convinced that Krishna is giving me this duty to perform, and I should do it to please him. And the result is I'll be able to think about him. Krishna will reveal himself to me. Krishna has to reveal himself. If we follow the process, then Krishna will reveal himself, and then we'll understand who Krishna is in truth, rather than our conception coming from something, from the illusory entity. Our conception of Krishna through the modes of material nature that we're situated under. As Krishna reveals himself, then Tesham eva nukamparatam aham agyana jam tamaha nashamyam yatmabhavashto yana dipena bhashvata. Out of compassion for them. Krishna is not going to reveal himself to us because we think we're so great, we're doing so much for him, and we deserve it. Krishna, it's been 5 minutes and you haven't revealed yourself to me yet. What's wrong with you? Are you asleep? I know it's Chaturmasya, but you should wake up. No, it's out of compassion. So without humility, without praying to Krishna, without realizing our fallen position, then we can't make any advancement because Krishna won't reveal himself to us. We may become expert in different ways because Didami Buddhi Yogam Tam, Krishna will give us intelligence to do anything in this material world without him. The whole material universe is open. We can take any position here and imagine we have it without Krishna. Even Brahma, one can become a Brahma and imagine himself independent of Krishna. As Brahma came and stole the cowherd boys and the calves, wondering who this little boy is. And then he realized this little boy is my master. But if we want to make advance in spiritual life, then we have to be humble. And we have to realize that I'm dependent on Krishna. I'm depending upon Krishna's representatives. And without them, I can't go anywhere. I can't really enter into the realm of bhakti, which requires humility and love go simultaneously. Even in the spiritual world, when we get there, we can't think, oh, that humility, finally I can set it aside and I can be my real self. Hi, Krishna. Hi, everyone. I'm here. And oh, great. Finally, you came. We've been waiting since time immemorial for you to come back. No, everything's going on in the spiritual world. No one's, wait, where did he go? Oh my God, we're all waiting for him. No, when we get there, then that's the world of humility and love. And even Krishna is humble. Even Srimati Radharani is humble. Krishna thinks all the devotees are greater than me. I'm insignificant. And Srimati Radharani thinks all the devotees are greater than me. I'm insignificant. So we want to go there and be the center of attention. It's the wrong place to go. Because there, Krishna is the center of attention. There, all Krishna's devotees are the center of attention. And for Krishna, it's the same thing. His devotees are the center of his attention. And he's a devotee of his devotees. He's not thinking, I'm the greatest here, everyone should serve me. Wait a second, Radharani, you're 15 seconds late. What's wrong with you? Maybe you should go back to the material world and get a little training. Now Krishna is thinking, I'm simply the servant, I'm simply a devotee of my devotees, and if I can increase their devotion to me, then I'll become more of their devotee. Everyone there is simply admiring love and humility, love and devotion. And everyone's a devotee of those love and devotion. And if we become servants of love and devotion here, then we'll actually make some progress and understand the science of Krishna consciousness as it actually is, rather than as we're imagining it right now. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, thank you for your lecture. I was in between. I was starting to thinking. Once you are attracted by Krishna, and then you are engaged in a devotional service by your spiritual master and other devotees, and then you become puffed up. But what is the difference between becoming puffed up that you are a devotee of Krishna and being proud that you are a devotee of Krishna? Because is there any difference? Or
well, it would be nice if we became a devotee of Krishna, first of all. Then we'd have something to be proud of. Devotion is not so easy to obtain. But we're engaged in the process. We're practicing to become devotees. When we actually become devotees, then we won't be proud, because one can't be proud, materially proud, and be a devotee. It's not possible. After all, we're 1/10,000th the size of tip hair and size, and Krishna is everywhere. He's the source of everything. It'd be pretty hard to be proud. It's like a little tiny ant looks at the Himalayan mountains and says, you and I are the same. You and I are equal. If the little ant crawls up the Himalayan mountains, then he would be quite in awe of the Himalayan mountains. It would be very hard for him to be proud. So it's only due to our lack of Krishna consciousness that we maintain these ideas of who we think we are, what we think we're doing, etc., etc. But we follow the process. Gradually, these things will be revealed, and that our natural humility will manifest itself. And then when it's actually manifested fully, then we'll become an actual devotee of Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Grandaraj, Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Krishna Janmashtami ki jai, Gaur Premanande.